Will Smith and Jaden Smith at 21. When Will turned 21, he was known as Fresh Prince, but his breakout role in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air hadn't come yet. At the same age, Jaden was already pursuing music and making waves in fashion. Tom Hanks and Colin Hanks at 41. By 41, Tom had already won 2 Academy Awards. His son, Colin, followed him into acting and had built an impressive career with roles in King Kong and House Bunny. Prince Charles and Prince William at 37. At 37, Prince Charles was nearing the end of his marriage to Princess Diana and had recently welcomed Prince Harry. Meanwhile, Prince William was married with 3 kids, Prince Charles and Prince Harry at 35. Prince Charles welcomed his first son, William, just before turning 35. Harry, on the other hand, had his first son at the same age, Ice Cube and O'Shea Jackson Jr. at 23. O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, looks so much like his dad that he played him in Straight Outta Compton. At 23, Ice Cube was already a famous rapper. Kirk Douglas and Michael Douglas at 30. At 30, Kirk had just landed his first big role in The Strange Love of Martha Ivers, while Michael was starring in The Streets of San Francisco. Michael Douglas and Cameron Douglas at 43. At 43, Michael was starring in Fatal Attraction, while Cameron was beginning his own acting career with The Runner. Clint Eastwood and Scott Eastwood at 28. By 28, Scott had followed in his father's footsteps, acting in The Longest Ride and Suicide Squad. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Patrick Schwarzenegger at 23. By 23, Patrick had already worked as a model and actor, proving that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, though he's not running for governor just yet. LeBron James and Bronny James in their late teens. With LeBron being one of the greatest NBA players ever, it's no surprise that Bronny is heading down the same path, with LeBron cheering him on at his games. Jerry Stiller and Ben Stiller at 44. Ben Stiller, known for his comedy, followed in his father Jerry's footsteps. Jerry had a successful career that lasted nearly 70 years, and both were well known by their mid-40s. John Lennon and Sean Lennon at 40. Although his father was assassinated in 1980 at the age of 40, Sean Lennon has upheld his father's name with honor by working as a musician, singer-songwriter, and guitarist. Bob Marley and Ziggy Marley at 36. Sadly, at the age of 36, Jamaican musician and cultural icon Bob Marley passed away. At the same age as his late father, Ziggy Marley looked almost identical and was carrying on his dad's legacy as a musician. Donald Sutherland and Kiefer Sutherland at 52. Donald Sutherland, who shot to fame in shows like MASH and Dirty Dozen, hit his stride in the film industry when he won acclaim for his roles in 1900 and Ordinary People. His son, Kiefer, rose to fame for the 80s film, The Lost Boys, and was later on the hit TV show 24. Marlon Brando and grandson, Tukey Brando, in their mid-20s. There's no mistaking that jawline. The grandson of Marlon Brando, Tukey Brando, carries on the iconic actor's legacy of devilish good looks working as a model for brands like Versace, Alan Thicke, and Robin Thicke at 42. Alan Thicke was America's favorite sitcom dad on Growing Pains throughout his late 30s and early 40s. But the late actor's son, Robin Thicke, has paved his own way in the entertainment industry as a singer and has had several big hits by the same age, including Blurred Lines, Rob Lowe, and John Owen Lowe at 24. Rob Lowe was an 80s heartthrob during his teenage years. While his son John didn't spend his teen years in the public eye, he did appear in a few projects with his father and brother, including a reality series called The Lowe Files. Glenn Frey and Deacon Frey in their early 20s. The late great Glenn Frey and his son shared more in common than just their long hair. Deacon Frey kept Glenn's musical legacy alive after his passing in 2016 and began touring with his father's band, the Eagles, as a guitarist and vocalist. Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez at 29. Martin Sheen clearly passed some serious acting chops onto son, Emilio Estevez, who was a member of the Brat Pack in the 1980s and has made a name for himself in his own right in Hollywood. Tommy Lee and Brandon Thomas Lee at 23. At 23 years old, Brandon Thomas Lee, the son of Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, opted for a different career than his father's in Motley Crue. Instead of music, he pursed acting and was one of the newcomers on the Hills, New Beginnings, Prince William, and Prince George at age 5. Is style a prerequisite for being the future King of England? For Prince William and his son, George, who both pulled off the preppy sweater game even at the age of 5, it certainly seems like it. Prince Harry and Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor at 6 months. Prince Harry's son attended his first official royal engagement while in South Africa for his parents' royal tour, and people can't get over how similar the two royals look at just 6 months old. Ryan Philippe and Deacon Philippe as teenagers. Ryan Philippe got his start in the industry on One Life to Live when he was still a teen. He later married his Cruel Intentions co-star Reese Witherspoon, but it's unclear yet if their son, Deacon, will follow in their acting footsteps or not. Jude Law and Rafferty Law at 22. At 22, Jude Law hadn't snagged any of his more notable roles, but he had been tagged as an up-and-coming actor to watch. His son, Rafferty, has also made a play for the spotlight by the same age and is currently a model and musician. Pierce Brosnan and Dylan Brosnan in their 20s. Dylan Brosnan seems to have caught the acting bug just like his famous father, Pierce Brosnan. The former model made his movie debut in Iconic. Around the same age, his father was also just getting his start. Denzel Washington and John David Washington at 35. By 35, Denzel had been working in Hollywood for over 10 years. The actor's son, John David Washington, has followed him to Hollywood and landed impressive roles in BlacKkKlansman's The Book of Eli and the television show Ballers. David Beckham and Brooklyn Beckham at 18. At 18, David Beckham was just starting his athletic career as a soccer player. Similarly, his son Brooklyn waited until he reached adulthood to jump into modeling and acting. Daniel Day-Lewis and Gabriel Kane Day-Lewis in their 20s. Daniel Day-Lewis is known as one of the best method actors of our time and has won 3 Academy Awards for it. But his son, Gabriel Kane Day-Lewis, has a different passion and is pursuing a career as a musician in New York City. David Cassidy and Bo Cassidy at 28. David Cassidy was one of the biggest pop stars and heartthrobs of the 1970s, thanks to his starring role on The Partridge Family as Keith Partridge. Bo has gotten a later start and made his acting debut in 2014 in his mid-20s. Sean Combs and Christian Combs in their early 20s. Diddy began his journey to fame in his 20s, and his son has done the same. Christian Combs, or King Combs as he often goes by, is a popular rapper with over 2 million Instagram followers. Jeremy Irons and Max Irons at 33. It seems like good looks aren't the only thing that run in the Irons family. British actor Jeremy Irons' son, Max, is also an actor and has had roles in films like Terminal and The Wife. Jack Nicholson and Ray Nicholson in their early 20s. In his 20s, Ray Nicholson has more in common with his father, Jack, than just his looks. The famous offspring is also working in Hollywood and has experience as an assistant and second director, as well as an actor. Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. at 36. Damon Wayans and his son look so similar, we're not convinced they aren't the same person. They even share the same name. Damon Wayans Jr. took after his father with a career in comedy and has had numerous parts on sitcoms like New Girl and Happy Together. Dennis Quaid and Jack Quaid at 27. Although Dennis Quaid's most notable roles happened a bit later in life, at 27 years old, he already had a pretty impressive resume. His son Jack has decided to venture into film as well, and has appeared in blockbuster films like The Hunger Games. Stellan Skarsgård and Alexander Skarsgård at 42. Stellan Skarsgård rose to fame in Sweden as one of the biggest actors in the country, and later took on Hollywood with roles in movies like Mamma Mia. Meanwhile, his son Alexander has landed some huge parts in recent years, including a main character on HBO's Big Little Lies, James Caan and Scott Caan at 40. You probably remember James Caan from The Godfather, which was one of the actor's most notable roles during his 40-year career. His son, Scott, inherited his movie star looks, but strays from his father in a small way. He's taken his career to the small screen, starring in shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Entourage, Sean Penn and Hopper Penn at 26. Sean Penn's son, Hopper Penn, had a solid start to his acting career in his 20s, but ran into some legal trouble when he was arrested for drug possession in 2018. Sean, on the other hand, was just getting started in his early 20s, Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell at 33. It's obvious that Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell's family is insanely attractive, and the only biological son of the overboard actor Wyatt Russell is a chip off the old block, other than the fact that Wyatt delayed his acting career when he was playing ice hockey. Lloyd Bridges and Jeff Bridges at 39. It seems like Lloyd's acting career, during which he starred in more than 150 films, inspired his son, Jeff Bridges. Jeff has been working as an actor since 1960 and is best known for his roles in The Big Lebowski and True Grit, John Ritter and Jason Ritter at 29. John Ritter's most notable role was on the 70s sitcom Three's Company, which he landed at 28, and his son inherited more than just his million-watt smile. He's gone on to act just like his late father and had been on several TV shows by his late 20s, James Brolin and Josh Brolin at 29. What profession do you go into when you're the son of legendary actor James Brolin? Well, acting, of course. Josh has been in the industry for over 3 decades and has starred in everything from The Goonies to Avengers, Endgame. Henry Fonda and Peter Fonda at 37. Peter Fonda was born into Hollywood royalty. His father, Henry Fonda, was one of the biggest actors of his time. But Peter made his own mark on Hollywood, becoming a symbol for the counterculture movement and reaching acclaim with his movie Easy Rider in 1969. Eugene Levy and Dan Levy at 35. Besides the fact that both father and son have similar taste in eyewear, by the age of 35, both Eugene and Dan had found themselves starring on the silver screen. For Eugene, that was as a star of SCTV, while Dan starred in Schitt's Creek with his father and sister, Mel Gibson and Milo Gibson at 28. When Mel Gibson was 28, he had just starred in Gallipoli, one of his many acclaimed films. While his son, Milo, didn't have quite as many films under his belt by the same age, he has starred in projects like All the Devil's Men and Hacksaw Ridge. Stevie Wonder and Kwame Morris at 28. Stevie Wonder's son, Kwame Morris, inherited far more than his father's infectious smile. By his late 20s, Morris had built a successful career in the music industry and as a male model. Phil Collins and Nicholas Collins in their late teens. Nicholas Collins inherited his musical skills from his father. When the legendary Phil Collins learned he could no longer play drums because of a medical issue, his son took over and joined him and Genesis on tour, Rance Howard and Ron Howard at 40. Although Ron Howard first made a name for himself by acting on Happy Days, directing has since become his calling. But did you know his father was in the business too? Both of the actors had successful careers, Dustin Hoffman and Jake Hoffman at 39. Dustin Hoffman's son, Jake, followed him into the film business. After becoming a graduate of New York University's acclaimed film school, Jake went on to star in, direct, and write various film projects. Michael Keaton and Sean Douglas at 34. Michael Keaton's son, Sean Douglas, is known for keeping a low profile. The celebrity offspring didn't follow his movie star dad into the business, instead making a career as a singer-songwriter. He even won a Grammy for his song Die a Happy Man. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe.